Hello everybody and welcome back to the Leeds Lens. This is sort of going to be a wrap-up, a sort of afterthought of the Leeds United loss, obviously, at Fulham yesterday, which was a disappointing result, I think, for all. I think everyone sort of unanimously believes that now. Obviously, Leeds United fought right till the bitter end before Gudmundsson unfortunately turned a corner into his own goal, which was just fabulous. But yeah, I've basically had to think about the game over the last sort of 24 hours. And come to a few conclusions and potentially some home truths, I think, actually, of the game that we played the other day. I actually think this is quite an interesting video because I think there's some different points that people haven't made. And actually, to be honest, my style usually on this channel is probably from the more positive viewpoint. That's where I like to look at it. But actually, this video, there is things that I'm a bit worried about, people. There is things that I am slightly worried about. And to be honest with you, I feel like it's time to sort of say some of them because I am concerned. And with some of the quotes that Farke came out with after full time yesterday, which I've sort of got, and I'm going to be reading some obviously out on stream as well today. I'm just a bit, I don't know. It's not quite where I wanted Leeds United to be at the moment. Now, obviously, the points total is still a lot to bear in mind. Like, we've got 4 points from our first 4. It's not that bad. Like, it's not the end of the world. It really isn't. But I think more what this video is going to be about more is looking at sort of where we're going to go from this point. And all right, okay, we've got 4 points, and that's not so bad. But is the way we're playing right now? This is what it's going to be about, really. Is the way we're playing right now going to be an actual successful thing for Leeds United this season? Because Daniel Farke has come out after the game and said, basically, this is the way we're going to play. He said we have to have this approach during the whole season. Need to keep the games tight. Need to be rock solid at the back. We can't not criticise an offensive players as a newly promoted side. We can't basically blow Fulham apart with our attacking players because we're a newly promoted side. And this is the Daniel. This is where we're at, really. And this is what our manager thinks. Our manager basically thinks that we're crap. That's what he sort of thinks. He thinks that we are not good enough. At the moment, and obviously, and I think he's basically set us up in such a defensive way. But my question mark is, and my worry is with Leeds United at the moment, is that, right, okay, fine, and the points are there, but is this going to be a successful strategy further down the line? Like, is this now, the results now going to turn? Like we've seen, for me, we've had an Everton game, which was a really good performance. I was really pleased with the Everton game. I thought we were really good. And then we obviously had the Arsenal game where we capitulated and it was a bit of a nightmare. We had the Newcastle game, which was sturdy, solid, and we had Fulham, which was probably sturdy, solid as well. Obviously, the only difference being that Gudmundsson didn't turn up in his own net against Newcastle like he obviously did against, of course, Fulham yesterday. But my worry is, people, my worry honestly is that we're just not creating enough. That is my consistent worry. And now people are I think there's probably going to be backlash potentially on this video a bit. And I'm maybe not in the best of moods anyway. I don't know why I don't feel that well. But and maybe that's where this is probably potentially coming from. I don't think it is, actually, because I was saying this last night anyway when I was feeling a bit more sort of optimistic about it all. But I just look at the approach right now and I look at sort of what chances we're creating in games. We had one shot on target against Newcastle. It was in the 90th minute. It was a Calvert-Lewin shot, which was a decent opportunity, but not a great opportunity. Yesterday, we had one really good chance, in my opinion, and it was a decent chance with a Longstaff shot from the edge of the box that obviously hit the bar. Potentially Aaronson's, but I think that was a half chance at best because it was so near post, and I actually think he did quite a good job with it. And I'm sort of like, with the way we play, we look solid defensively, and I think Connor was saying on his show on One Leeds that in terms of 2/3 of the structure, it looks pretty decent. Like, we're not giving much up in a defensive capacity. They had 5 shots yesterday. Newcastle really did nothing in possession. Of course, Everton basically did nothing in possession as well. We look solid defensively, and I think there's no doubt about that. But it's just on the attacking standpoint. Are we going to score enough goals to stay in this division? Because I don't see us. I know we've had people in the chat quite commonly on this channel, PSF and Easy, who were both sort of the opinion that we're going to be higher in the league. I just don't see it. I really don't. Like, I just don't think, and I don't even blame, to be honest, the attackers in the team. I really don't blame the attackers in the team, actually. Like, I think there's question marks yesterday over the selection of Aaronson on the right-hand side, in my opinion. I think there is. And potentially people are going to sort of, and we had people on the live reaction after the game sort of knocking sort of DCL's performance, knocking Okafor's performance. I don't think it's their fault. I think if you put Demirovic, who obviously a lot of people wanted to score the other day for Stuttgart, put him up front, put Paxao on the left hand side, put even Bakwa on the right hand side, which I know a lot of you guys wanted, and myself included, on the right hand side. I still think yesterday we don't win that game. I think we come out without a goal, and people are going to be shocked at that and think that's mad. I just look at where our players are picking the ball up in the final third, and they're picking it up so deep. And this is the problem I've got at the moment, is that I don't think we've got good enough attackers going forward to sort of be able to manage with receiving the ball in the positions that they're doing at the moment. I don't think we've got enough. Because Okafor picks the ball up. Like, a lot of his decent runs yesterday, and I thought he was okay at times, especially in the first half. I thought he was a bit of a threat down that side, and you can see his burst of pace and his strength and his sort of physical power and stuff. At times, I thought that was implemented in his game, and I think you can see something in his player, in that particular player. But I think my main issue with it is that it's just we're just picking the ball up too deep. When you pick the ball up in your own half and you've got to dribble all the way forward to score a goal, the chances that they do that is so slim. And as I said, I think you could throw Paxao on the right hand side. I think you could throw a load of top wingers on the left hand side, or you could throw Bakwa on the right hand side. And I don't think that would fundamentally change. If we had Harry, obviously we're all streaming for Harry Wilson on deadline day. I think if you have put Harry Wilson into this team right now on the right hand side, again, I don't think the result change, because I'm not sure it's a personnel thing, and I think it's the way we set up. And I like the midfield, and I like how defensively solid it is, but it doesn't offer enough for me going forward. It just doesn't offer enough. And we can sort of hide behind the fact, I think, that it defensively does really well. And I'm not hiding behind that, because it's a truth. Like, they are good defensive sort of midfield players, in terms of they are good at disrupting it. They are good at breaking up the play. And Fulham are a tricky team, and they've got good midfielders. Josh King's a sort of good young coming player. Caused Chelsea loads of problems of the weeks. Lukic is, but Sander Berg's decent. They're decent Premier League players, both of them. And we did sort of stifle them. But are we going to ever have a closing touch to go and win a game? Because, yes, obviously yesterday we could have come out with a 0-0, and I think we should have come out with a 0-0. I thought Daniel Farke obviously mentioned after the game that we actually sort of could have ended up coming out with a 0-0 quite easily, and that probably would have been a fair result, and he'd been absolutely right. It would have been a fair result. But which games are we going to win? Because, okay, Fulham away, not a bad result, 0-0. Newcastle at home, not a bad result, 0-0. But we need to then you've got to go into Wolves, and you've got to find a way to win that game. And this is what was worrying me about sort of the quotes after the game, where Daniel Farke says that we're going to have this approach during the whole season. So we're going to have that approach then when we play Wolves away. And if we play Wolves away, then I can't see how it's going to be any different in terms of us creating chances. I don't see how that strategy and the way we're going to play is equivalent to Leeds United creating opportunities for our team. I just don't see the rationale in terms of that. I don't see it personally. I don't see how that style is ever going to create chances. And I'm looking at the Wolves game now, and I'm looking at the Bournemouth game of the week after. And for me, I'm not seeing where the goals are coming when we play like that. And I'm not blaming Okafor for me. I'm not blaming DCL. I'm not blaming Bakwa or whoever you would have in the team, because obviously we don't even have Bakwa on the right side. But whoever you'd have, I'm not blaming individuals here. And I'm not even blaming Aaronson, even though I thought it was a poor selection choice. It's the style, and I get the style. I understand it, because it makes us defensively disciplined. And not just that, it makes us defensively rigid, we're defensively solid, and we don't give up anything, because we've basically got 3 sitters in front of the back 4 sweeping everything up so nothing can get through, and they can't play between the channels. And the only way we ever concede chances, if you look at Leeds United yesterday, for the most part, the only way we ever conceded chances was when Kevin came on the left-hand side, and he created opportunities from wide. And when the balls come into the box, like the Sasha Lukic chance comes from wide, and then it ends up coming sort of into the box from wide areas. And I think obviously that's the way you could probably get the Leeds United team at the moment. But nothing comes through the middle, because we've basically got 3 players blocking it off. And that's good, and that stops teams creating chances against Leeds United. But what that also does is, when you've got sort of Longstaff, Stack, and Ampadu all shielding the back 4, it gives too much work for the attacking players. Is the balance there? Have we got that balance right, really? Because, as I said, we've played 4 games now, and except potentially in the first half against Everton, I haven't thought we're going to score a goal in any game. And look, I can have different feelings throughout the games, and so put other people, I'm sure. But that's my worry, is that I can see potentially us getting a goal from a mistake against Wolves. I think even we could get a goal from a set piece against Wolves. I think they look vulnerable in a number of phases of the game. I don't see where we score an open play goal unless it's like a Longstaff shot from the edge of the box. I just can't see it at the moment. This might sound mental, but I was thinking of having Biol as a centre forward for the last 10 minutes could have been interesting if you're going to go direct, having Pro playing off him. Yeah, it does sound kind of mental, if I'm being honest. I would have DCL and Nemetra are both good hold-up strikers, so I don't think we need to play Biol up front personally. But yeah, that is my main worry. And I'm wondering, actually, like we tried a lot yesterday to play through the lines, especially in the first half. We tried to play through the thirds. Against Newcastle, it was a much more direct approach. You went up to the big man a lot of the times, into DCL or into Nemetra, as it was in that game, and played off him. That was the way we played. And we had a lot of moments where we'd win the ball higher up the pitch, one of Stack or Longstaff or one of the wide players would pick up the ball and then we'd be running out of team. And that worked really well against Newcastle. And I thought we created, even though we didn't create a lot of XG and a lot of actual shots in the game, I thought we created bits of like where it was the wrong decision in the final third or the ball got like sort of kicked out of play or whatever it was. There was a lack of quality at times. But I thought I could see something. Yesterday, when we were playing, we can't play through a team at all with the midfield that we're picking, in my opinion. I just don't think we can. I think we've got to go long. But yeah, I just sort of this whole chat really is about yes, the points are not bad. 1 point a game is 38 points, which probably keeps you in the division. So that is fine. But I want to not just to look at what we're doing now, but is this style? Because Daniel Farke says this is the style, so this is where we're at. Is this style going to be a style that's going to be effective over the rest of the season? Is this a style that's going to win us points on a consistent manner throughout the season? And yes, I can see the vision if you're saying we're going to get 0-0s. I can see that. And I can see the vision that we might get 1-1s, we might get 1-0s. I can't see the vision further than that with the way we're playing because I just don't. What chance did we have yesterday to score? It's so negative. And I think he thinks the team's horrendous. I really do genuinely think that. I think he thinks the team's awful. And I go to like some other quotes that he made in the game. And he said this about James, Harrison and Aaronson, which I thought was quite interesting. He says, they were called hopeless when we were relegated. They still have a point to prove. I'm looking forward to improving them, but we shouldn't expect miracles. The last bit is the damning bit. We shouldn't expect miracles. And what he's basically saying there is, what do you expect me to do when I've got Jack Harrison, Dan James and Aaronson? He's saying, what do you expect? This is what that gets you. And I don't think, even though that might be true, and I think potentially a lot of you guys in the comments and potentially we're watching the video live will agree with that. Is that a style that's going to get us points over a long period of time? Or is that lack of sort of trust in his players in a roundabout way going to get us points over a long period of time? I'm just not convinced it will. Yeah, so that is my fundamental one big issue with Leeds United. I get how strong we are defensively. I get that Rodon and that Strauch and that Gudmundsson and that Bogle have all done well this season. I get the midfield's done well. I think Darlow was outstanding yesterday. And actually, to be honest, I'd play Darlow for the rest of the season if you're asking me for right now. He looks better than Perry. I think Perry obviously will come back in because we spent good money on him. And I think the ceiling of Perry is potentially a lot higher than Darlow. But I'm just more looking at the sort of the game as such in a whole manner, and I'm looking at sort of where are the goals coming from, and I just think with the style we're playing and where our players are picking the ball up and how sort of, because you can play this midfield three, by the way, but you can say to Stack move forward and play as the 10, or when Tanaka comes hopefully back in the next game, play as that sort of more advanced midfielder. But if you're almost going to play with 3 6s, which is almost what we did yesterday, in my opinion. At a maximum, it was 1-8 and 2 6s. That's the performance you're going to get because what happens is if you put your 6s further back on a team, so you've got your defensive line, then you've got your 6s, and they're much deeper. Then your wingers and your striker have to come deeper. At least your wingers, and you almost drop into a 4-5-1. And when then not Okafor's here, and you've got Nonto, whoever it would be on this side, they're so deep at that point that even when they get the ball, there's too much work to do to get anywhere near to the goal. So yeah, that's my fundamental problem right now. Anyway, let's get into another quote that he said as well. He also because he also talks in afterwards about sort of like the fact that we could have ended up signing Kevin, which is I thought was interesting. But again, I don't think it's personnel. I don't think that's the issue. But the reason I'm probably more down tone is I've thought about it for the last, as I said, for the sort of last 24 hours after the game, and I'm not seeing the rationale for sort of like us scoring goals and therefore staying in the league. I just don't see I can't see the vision. Like I said quite confidently after the Everton game, if we get with the way we played in that game, with to get the right attackers in, I think we can make something work. That's what I thought. And right now I'm looking at it and it's so negative, and the manager's saying that we're not going to change, that I'm struggling to see what anything's going to happen. And people might look at the XG2 and we're not bottom in that. I think Burnley potentially below us and Sunderland are below us. So, okay. But again, it only tells you a certain story, that. And maybe it's because it's one game and maybe I'm in reactionary. But that is where I am at with it. Like I said, there's another quote that I thought was interesting. Yeah, this is Farke on squad quality. He said, "We are fortunate to have a good group and a lot of good characters. We know we don't have the best individual quality, so we have to be much tighter, show fighting spirit, and be more effective." So again, he's sort of reverting to the idea that, of course, that the individual qualities. He's brought it up a few times now, and then I think this goes into it. And I think that's the way. The reason he's playing the way he is because he doesn't think that we can go almost blow for blow with a Fulham, and he thinks we'll just get picked off. Which, in a roundabout way, I agree with to an extent. But as I said, for me, I think we've got to find a way to be more sort of potent and have a bit more about us in an attacking sense. Because, as I said, otherwise, I just don't see where personally the goals are coming from. But yeah, I am going to wrap it up there because I wanted this to be a sort of shorter stream anyway. So I hope you guys have enjoyed as always. And if you've enjoyed it, if you could drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Sorry for the more down tone. It's just sort of where I'm at with Leeds United at the moment. Hopefully we'll get a decent result away at Wolves and sort of can be back on the wavelength, because it's not been a bad start. As I said, if you'd have said 4 points in the first 4 games, I'd have probably took it. So yeah, stuff to build on. But yeah, I think maybe a tweak slightly from the manager, but it doesn't sound like he's going to do it, which is a bit concerning to me. Anyway, thanks all for watching as always, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye for now.